When they first asked me to come to this group and speak about the maker movement and making, my first thought was, well, I could talk about things we do at Maker House or things that we do in the maker movement, or all of the wonderful people I've met since I got into the maker movement, the kind of tribe of makers who've really improved my life and made things amazing. But I didn't want to do that because it's a nice story to tell us why this matters. And so I'll talk today about why this matters. To do that, we have to talk about which is marketing and public relations and media, and that's selling you. So to do that, I want to take you behind the curtain, and I want to show you how the magic trick is done. Now, after I show you how the magic trick is done, it's not going to change the impact that marketing has on you. Marketing still works on me, and I've been doing it for 20 years. But when you understand how the trick is done, I'm going to show you how we can break that cycle. Many of you in this room, and if you've heard the speakers up here today, many of you have seen that there's a lot of us who feel that something's broken, something's not right. Just the number of us on antidepressants in this country should tell you that something's not right, right? And I can tell you why it's broken, and it's because we broke it. Not in reality, but that we tell ourselves that it's broken over and over and over again. You're exposed to 5,000 to 7,000 advertising and marketing messages every day. And every single one of those tells you that something is broken in your world, and if you just give us a little bit of money, we'll fix it for you. Okay? But think about hearing 7,000 times a day that something is broken. After a while, you're going to believe it. You're convinced that you can't even assemble furniture, let alone make it yourself. I mean, IKEA is beyond all of us. What, an Allen wrench and instructions? I can't do anything with this. You're convinced that you're a completely incompetent cook. You don't even know how to make the most basic of foods. You need to purchase them all. Don't even try to cook, because you're not the best, so why bother? You're convinced that around every corner in your household is a tragedy waiting to happen, and that you have parties frequently where people throw red wine and grass stains and dirt and mustard all over the floor, and they're destroying everything. Have you ever noticed the commercials on television that show families with young children and the whole apartment is white? Like white couches, white floors, white walls? Who are these insane people? And why did they decorate this way when they wanted to start a family? But everything is a tragedy waiting to happen. And it wasn't like that. In fact, there's people who've been on this stage today who've told you about what it was like when you were 5. And if I walk into a kindergarten classroom right now and I say, how many of you can sing or make music? Every single hand will go up. Every single hand. And they know it without question. They know it instinctually in the very bones of their being that they can create music and they can sing, because they have not been taught yet that they can't and they're not good enough. And what do we do with that? We break it. And we convince them that music does not belong to them. It belongs to multi-million-dollar pop stars with auto-tune and production companies. And we will sell it back to you at 99 cents a track. All you have to do is buy, and you can have your music back. In this country, we used to be very proud of cooking. In fact, we shared recipes, and we competed with one another at county fairs to see who could make the best pickles or the best jams. We compared notes. We showed off what we produced. And we made economical, nutritious meals for our families. But that didn't work for the bottom line of some companies. Because I've got news for you. There's no money in flour and salt and potatoes and cucumbers. Those are commodities. There's no profit in that. So we have to find a way to create what we call in the marketing game value add. And value add is to process that food, and there's a lot of money in that. A great deal of money in processed food. But nobody would buy it because they actually enjoyed cooking. So we had to break that. And we convinced, at this time in our history, largely the American housewife, that cooking was beneath her. That cooking for a family was like any other chore. Now, I'm not advocating a return to traditional gender roles. In my house, I do all the cooking. I do all the grocery shopping. That is my creative outlet. But I am saying to be told over and over again that the process of making a healthy meal for our family is something that is both beyond our capability and beneath our status, and that instead we should purchase a processed product for a much higher price, laden with God knows what, if you listen to Mrs. Green, is the way to go. And we all said yes. So marketing is based on creating this pain point, this problem, and then selling you this very easy solution. Don't take your dog for a walk in the park. Instead, buy a $1,000 treadmill to put in your living room that you'll eventually hang your clothes on. But you'll be making low, easy payments, so don't worry about it. Just make the pain go away right now. The only thing we don't sell using this method, the pharmaceutical easy cure method, is, strangely enough, pharmaceuticals. And if you watch any television advertisement on any pharmaceutical company, you will see that what we really sell is vacation. It's full of people kayaking and running with their children and biking and bird watching. And if you watch certain commercials for certain pills that are designed for men, they're dragging cast iron tubs down to the beach. I don't know why. It makes you very strong, apparently. But we sell vacation. We sell time with your family. Now, why is that such a great thing that if we watch it over and over again, we will go to a doctor and say, please give me something that may be a poison that I may not even need because what? I want more time off. I want more time with my family. And why do I want that? Because I'm working myself to the bone so that I can afford to buy stuff that I've been told I have to buy to solve the pain that isn't really there, and I'm apparently incompetent enough that I can't make it, that I can't create, that I can't build. And what we end up with is this. Now, I'm hoping most of the people in here weren't knocking folks down for the newest set of plastic toys on Black Friday. But this is our reality. This is a consumer economy. This is what a consumer economy means. Our entire economic value and worth as a country is to buy things. Now, if you've ever taken an economics class, you've had a microeconomics lesson where they explain to you how an economy works. And it's usually the desert island. The desert island, they say, you should specialize because if one person is always fishing and collecting coconuts and also building grass huts, then they don't have time to do anything very well. But if the person who's best at fishing does the fishing and the person who's best at collecting coconuts does that, you can exchange the goods and services and you create an economy. Now notice in that metaphor, there is always someone producing. Now I want you to think of that same desert island where all of you are producing something and there's trade going on, and my role is to be the consumer. I will just use everything that you make. I will just take it from you, and I will consume it. How long before you vote me off the island? Not very long. Now, I mentioned this to a friend of mine a few weeks ago, and she said, well, as long as you're paying for it. I said, but the only way I pay for it is to buy coconuts from the coconut person and fish from the fish person, borrow that, say I'll pay them back later, and then do the switch. Right? And that's what we do in this country. We borrow from other places, and we buy things. And eventually, the note comes due. The piper gets paid. And we, as a society, get voted off the island. And what does that look like? It looks like Detroit. It looks like the Rust Belt. It looks like unemployment. It looks like joblessness. It looks like hopelessness. It looks like people who've been told they are no longer competent to make things, and so we no longer have places where we make things, and we just keep borrowing until it all collapses. So, on that very upper of a note, how do we fix it? Because this is a big issue. It's not something that any of us sitting in a single seat in this room can suddenly feel like, well, I know how to tackle that one, right? Recognizing that it's broken is the first step. But I'm a marketing guy, so I'm going to give you the cure as well. Make something. This is a dinner I made. You do not have to go out and have a woodshed and construct Amish furniture. You just have to make something every day. Make dinner, make a meal, right? Maybe you're not a cook. That's okay. Maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe you're more like me and you're into media. Write a poem, write a novel. I download numerous novels that are written by other independent authors on a Kindle all the time, and I read them constantly because I want to support other makers. Paint, draw, sing, dance. Do something creative to use your mind and your hands and your abilities to break that cycle of being told 5,000 times a day that you're not good enough, you need to buy something. Look around you and think about what can be created from what you already have. This is something that did not happen to me until I started hanging out with makers. But this hot tub was in my backyard, left there by the person who owned the house before me, and it was broken, did not work, and it could not be repaired. And it was put in the yard before they built the wall and the fence around the yard. So I thought, well, I'll have to pay somebody to cut it up, and then I'll have to haul it out, and I'll have to pay to throw it into a landfill. And I said, no, 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 stop. When is a hot tub not a hot tub? When it's sculpture. So I turned it up on its side, found a nice Buddha statue at a secondhand store. I just got to throw some paint on the thing. We've got a nice little Zen coffee nook. Right? But I would never have thought that way until I started seeking to make things every day. I would have followed the routine. I wouldn't have thought, well, this is a raw material. This is a resource. What else can I create? I learned this from a guy at Maker House named Matt, who I cannot leave alone in a room with tools and even garbage because art will just appear everywhere. He makes things constantly. And the makers that I'm around, the tribe I'm inviting you to become a part of, are people who just make things. They're always looking for what is next, what can be constructed. Engage in craft. If that's your thing, knit, crochet, scrapbook, make jewelry, create something. Grow a garden, plant seeds, become a beekeeper, make your own beer. I highly recommend it. All right? But it doesn't have to be the most high-end craft that you would expect an artisan to construct. It just has to be something that you create, that breaks the cycle, that says, I will do something disruptive and make something instead of acquiring something. I am good enough, and I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, and I'm going to make something. All right? Zombie brain cupcakes. Delicious, with very delicious red filling when you bite into them, actually. Made by Summer Disney, another person at Maker House. This. I show you this because making something will transform you in ways you cannot imagine. And the process of making can change even the darkest of hearts. But what you need to understand is that you already have this in your hands. It exists. We have been making things as a species from before we had recorded history. It is our inheritance from our ancestors. It is the most powerful, disruptive, and human activity you can engage in. And if you engage in it, if you do it on a regular basis, it will fix what we broke. It will return us to where we should be, which is a society of creators, of makers, of people who make a difference. If you would commit to doing that with me today, I would ask you to stand up and show me that commitment. I'd love to see everyone on their feet. Thank you very much.